I am here to share my story with you. My origin story. Why did I become an emotional alchemy guide? No, this is not something that I had imagined I'd be becoming, yet I am here. No, that's not right. Oh my god. Whew. Okay, feeling some visibility shame. Feeling some visibility shame. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh. Woo. Okay. Oh my god, I'm just here to tell you my story. Why is it so hard? It's not hard, I just have a lot of resistance about talking about myself because it's about visibility shame, because I'm sharing something tender and vulnerable. Yet I know this is the work, and I'm just showing up as I'm getting like chest bubbles, which happens when I'm constricting myself somewhere. Okay, so the intention for this broadcast is to share with you my story about why I and how I became an emotional alchemy guide. Well, first it started with becoming an emotional alchemist, and then I became a guide as I realized, wow, this shit works. It's freaking miraculous. I can't believe I lived without knowing this before. And it's a process. It is a major transmutation shift, paradigm shift that just completely turned everything upside right, downside right, downside up. And yeah, my upbringing as the child of immigrant parents from Korea and growing up in the States with that kind of, yeah, just by default feeling like the other, you know, the only Asian American, Korean American in my all white neighborhood, school. But I think, I mean, that was one component of many issues, how I just kind of grew up with this idea, belief that, yeah, there's no space for me. And I think that kind of thinking, you know, stemmed really from inside the home as well, where it's just part of Korean culture where, you know, I think my parents' mentality is that they're just kind of running on survival mode, being in this new country, navigating all the complexities of that. And, you know, being born as a very sensitive child and empathic, I just kind of absorbed, I think, their struggles. And my way to cope with that was just to think, okay, I don't want to add to your struggles. I'm just going to be the most unobtrusive, non-problematic, like role model child, you know, so that I don't cause any more distress to this already very stressful situation that we're in. So I did just that, and it felt easier for me to just shut up and not have any problems, just keep them all inside and just behave according to what they needed me to be so that they're less stressed out. And, you know, I kind of got by, but at a very great cost to my own well-being, to my own mental health. And I think it's just started to snowball you know, slowly but surely. And it just kind of culminated during my Saturn return, Dark Night of the Soul period, where I was just confronted with many different aspects of my life, in my relationships, in my relationship to work, to my creativity, to, you know, all these kind of self-expression things where I was just completely blocked because I actually had no idea who I am underneath what people wanted me to be, what people externally needed me to be for them to be okay with me or something, or just so I thought. So, you know, all these really intense vectors that were really pushing me into a corner with feeling extremely stifled in myself and feeling extremely angry about it and feeling extremely not okay that I feel angry about it. And just, you know, it's just like this pressure cooker that started to manifest into my skin, and just all this repressed feelings, you know, I really believe that, like, you know, your emotional state, inner emotional state, is a direct reflection of your physical, you know, everything's connected. And so because I was operating under that belief system of it's not okay for you to be as you are and you have to comply, you have to, you know, respect the outside authority of what is already established as good and right and whatever, and just completely denying, rejecting, suppressing whatever is not that, that like intense pressure just started to manifest into my skin, all these skin issues, which just kind of really like downward spiral with my own self-esteem, because till that point, on a subconscious level and conscious level, I really believe that all of my worth was dependent on my appearance. And so once that was starting to break down and feeling a lot of shame and self-hatred, that was really the opening to an enormous pain I didn't even know was there, enormous self-hatred, rejection, that was kind of came through, triggered by my skin. And I think that was kind of the time when I recognized that there's something that was deeply, sorely missing. And I knew that this was some kind of puzzle that I needed to figure out on a deep level. And I needed to get some really potent awareness here. But I was so stuck for years. This was such a torment that it kind of really instigated a lot of inquiry, a lot of going into myself to try to figure out the why. And so that was when I had this really important awakening to, wow, how I was actually really talking to myself and treating myself internally, and that this was a realm that I was completely oblivious to because I was so normalized to not being seen, that I didn't know how to see myself because I was never seen. Like, seen for who I am, for what I feel, for how I think, and what, you know, this whole inner realm that was just completely closed off because there was no reflection back in my upbringing. So this was, in a sense, how I was treating myself into my adulthood. And this was this pattern that just kind of erupted through my skin to make me become aware. And I just, yeah, it was a big shift. It was a big death process that I went to into how I was, death of how I identified myself to be according to all these external whatevers, you know, and really having to come into look at the pain that was behind this wall of pretense, this facade of like how I had been operating in the world up until then. And so it's become my practice to really, you know, turning that reality upside down to then really prioritize this inner realm. And and the willingness to be with myself. And I realized that all of this abandonment trauma that I had been like re-experiencing over and over again in so many different ways was actually a reflection of the kind of abandonment that I had experienced as a child, of, you know, being neglected severely, emotionally, and that this was a pattern that I was repeating unconsciously to my own self, you know, not letting this inner world be seen, keeping it secret, keeping it hidden, because I thought that if, you know, there's something too shameful, too bad, too unlovable, and I can't dare let that be seen. And once I started to unravel that and come to recognize the gifts of just owning that truth and owning the hurt, yeah, it's just been an incredible journey of truly, I feel like, you know, a rebirth process. And yeah, the magic of the alchemy that comes in that willingness to really be and descend down, something that was just completely, I had never, no one thinks to do that because no one wants to actually feel pain, because I think we're all operating on, no, like, you know, we're just like a feel-good society, and that has its limit, you know, and I think the turning point of, no, let yourself just feel what's there, and you can't feel good until you feel whole, you know, not like, you can't feel totally good until you feel until you are honoring and acknowledging and accepting of all these aspects of yourself, you know, your shadow, what is hidden, what is suppressed. And so it's been truly a intensely gratifying, profound journey to start to get into this new repatterning and all the things that I've been awakening to continuously, you know, on a daily level, of having this approach, having this alignment to go down to the places that scare me, you know, to the uncomfortable, you know, down into the cellar, and just knowing that it's such a sweet reunion to be able to recover these shamed aspects of the self and to bring them back. And so it's become such an important practice, important way of being in this world, and of truly being able to connect with my authentic self. And that's how I think this role just came, it was just like a slow, and maybe it wasn't so slow, it was just once I just knew this is just my role in this life, you know, that this is just really something that really turns me on, like in every sense. The work I do with myself and the work I facilitate for others who are in that kind of chasm or like tunnel bridge, where it's so easy to get stuck because of all the programming. So once I kind of knew that this is part of this divine feminine awakening that's happening on the planet, you know, this return and this kind of bringing in of this new ancient future energy of, you know, how we can start to really open ourselves and soften ourselves to include all the disparate aspects of ourselves and include all the disparate shadow aspects of humanity, you know, that this work is about healing that internal separation, that split within ourselves and with each other. and yeah, this is deep compassion work, and I guess that's how I became Kuan Yin. You know, as you know, Kuan Yin is the goddess of compassion. The Buddhist lineage. And yeah, my family name is Kuan, and you know, this work is very much about downward yin receptive energy. And so I realized I am Kuan Yin. You know, this is my work, or this is just who I am. And so I think kind of creating this new name for myself was really this indicator that, yeah, this is who I am and what I'm here to do. This is my service. This is my passion. This is my art, in bringing this energy through, and yeah, and just working through all the visibility shame to keep showing up as my authentic self.